It was he and I, as before, who made the first approach, quiet as cobwebs, to the house with no pumpkins.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television. The Danger.
1, 2, 3. There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all. 'Cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
Greetings and welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television, the podcast that's going to save you from the bad guys. I am your host, JW. No clever nicknames this time because this book bored me to tears, Friedman. And with me, as always, is...
Chris, Win, Place, or Show Collision.
Ooh, that's a horse reference.
Of course.
It's good because this book is tangentially about horses, I think.
Nay. I mean, you wouldn't call it the main topic, but I don't want to stir up any controversy this early in the episode, Jay.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's important that people know that what we're reading here is called The Danger. It is by Dick Francis. Is that his name?
Dick Francis himself.
Yes, who apparently is really well known, but I had never heard of him. I don't know. You recommended this. I'm curious your rationale.
Well, I mean, thanks for saddling me with that. I'll try not to bridle too much at the accusation. I'm just going to keep doing these horse puns until, basically you hit end on the Skype call.
That's fine. Okay. I've got nothing today. I've really got nothing. So bring on the horse puns, and I will tolerate them with a grim expression.
Well, maybe you'll whip me into shape. Jesus. I thought this was going to be a little more fun as well. Not to jump ahead or anything, but yeah, this is not exactly the most rip-roaring tale we've ever encountered on this show. I have a vague memory. I think my mom used to read these, so the spines were just sort of on the shelves and were part of my childhood. And all I knew is that they were English mysteries, and they were mostly about horses. Not mostly about horses, but about the world of horse racing. Because Dick Francis was, in fact, a champion jockey.
Oh, okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. Because I didn't realize they were all about, or mostly about, the world of horse racing. Yeah. I thought that was just, the setting for this book. But this is about I'm about to say the silliest sentence I've ever said in a long time, and it makes me really happy. This is about a special company that you call when somebody gets kidnapped that owns an expensive horse, and you need to get them in and out as quick as possible without harming anyone.
It is at least possible that they do have some non-horse owning clients.
Oh, but they don't show up here.
They sure don't show up in this book. So let me ask you a question. Is it safe to say you could have used a little less horse in the monitors on this one?
Yeah, but also a little more, because there's a lot more horse owner than there is horse. And what I was really hoping for going into this was I'm gonna make a bit of a stereotype here, but I believe it's a benign one. But I was expecting a horse girl book, which is a genre that definitely exists. For our readers who are unfamiliar, there are a lot of books written for younger women and even adult women who love horses and have lots and lots to do with horses. And usually there's romance with a handsome but aloof groomsmen? Is that what they're called? I don't remember. The dudes who take care of horses.
Groomsman is somebody who's taking part in a wedding. I think a groom is also somebody who takes part in a wedding, but is also somebody who works for the horse. I don't fucking know. I'm not a horse boy.
Yeah, I'm not a horse boy either. But the horse girl novel, I think, is a long standing tradition when it comes to literature. And I was hoping that this was going to be half of that and like half like cool mystery.
Yeah.
And instead it's like half boring James Bond and half watching the Kentucky Derby.
So you were a little disappointed in the book.
Yeah, so I got a new e-reader because I wanted to free myself from the world of Amazon, and I like it a lot. But one of the things it does is at the end of the book, it tells you a lot of stats about how you read it. And I just brought the page up here, and the way I read this book was in 69 settings. I'm not making that up.
Nice.
Of approximately 23 minutes each. Now, I mean, you can attest, and I'm sure a lot of listeners can too. Usually for the show, I read these books in 1 or 2 goes. This book kept literally putting me to sleep, and I don't know if it's just social isolation for so long or what, but like I could not keep my eyes open. I would start reading this book and wake up like on the couch with the book on the floor. It was bad.
I definitely did not find that to be my experience, but whenever I was reading it, Noodles would look over and ask me, why the long face?
Oh, Jesus. But I think it brings us to a really important question about this book that we were talking about earlier, is where are the horses?
You mentioned that, like, on one hand you could have used less horses, but on the other hand you could have used more horses. The world's most cursory Wikipedia flick that I did earlier this week indicates that this may be the least horse-centric Dick Francis book.
Ah, damn it, we just picked a bad one then.
And that's on me.
All right, in any of the other books, do the horses solve the crimes? Because that's what I'm really hoping for. Is a horse like in a Sherlock Holmes cap?
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you are aware of a Dick Francis book, or I'm just going to put this out there, any other book in which a horse solves the mystery, please do send us an electronic mail at I don't even own a television @gmail.com. And there is a north of 90% chance that book will be covered on a future episode.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be from the horse's perspective like a Chet and Bernie book when it comes to dogs or anything. I just want a horse solving some mysteries, and then I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, I mean, this could be an old-timey, stagey kind of thing where there's a detective who just happens to have a horse, and he looks over, and he's like, how many suspects do you think we have? And the horse, like, stamps 4 times.
I love this idea. He's like, I only take payment in sugar cubes. No, but yeah, okay. So, should we do plot in 60 seconds?
Sure. Love to do plots in 60 seconds. As the listeners know.
You got 60 seconds. Streaming the show. You got 60 seconds. Don't leave nothing out. You got 60 seconds. Just open your mouth and tell them what the goddamn book's about.
Okay. Well, if you're ready, let's begin.
Andrew Douglas is a handsome and sensible young English fellow with rather an interesting profession. You see, he works for a company that prevents and resolves that important thing rich people think about, kidnapping. In Italy, he has to recover a rich man's daughter, and you're not going to believe this, but she's really pretty and kind, and she takes rather a fancy to Andrew. And for that reason, among others, does young Alessia come back with Andrew to England, where she can slowly work towards resuming her training, for, you see, she is a champion jockey. Then, a young English boy gets kidnapped, and you're not going to believe this, but his dad owns a horse Alessia was going to ride. Could there be a connection? Also, his dad is a prick. Andrew extracts the child by letting his ex-Special Forces co-worker do all the work. Then, another horse guy gets kidnapped and everybody has to go to America and look for him, and the kidnapper traps Andrew and ties him naked to a tree for several days until Andrew uproots the tree by main force and calls the cops, and they go get the bad guy, and Andrew realizes he loves Alessia at the end.
I think it's close enough. close enough for sure. I kind of forgot to pay attention to when we started, so we're going to say yes.
So I won it by a nose.
Yes, you did. Due to judge's indiscretion, you won it by a nose. It was a photo finish. See, I can do it too.
Okay, please. I know that these are already a greater editing burden than normal, but please feel free to put in the beating hoof beats under the.
Don't worry, I'll do it for sure because you're my main man.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah, so that's what this is, and this book happens in a form that I like to refer to as not a 3-act structure, but the same thing happening 3 times in a row. It's pretty unique, I have to say, because it's like you're getting 3 of the same book in one cover.
I think one could safely describe it as a bit episodic.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It has that wonderful plot structure that you might think of as and then.
Yes. Or those BBC miniseries that are only 3 episodes long?
Yeah, I call them BBC miniseries.
Yeah, that's this. So, yeah. The first one is Andrew Douglas in Italy, and then the second one is I don't know, horse napping comes to England.
Yeah.
And then the final one is those Yankees and their damn horses.
No. But they're way different. You see, in the first section in Italy, Andrew is looking to solve a kidnapped girl, and he meets a friendly cop that he works well with to do it. In England, he's looking to resolve the kidnapping of a little boy, and he meets a friendly cop that he gets along with well in order to do it. And then in America, he's trying to resolve the kidnapping of a guy who's the president of some kind of horse fancier club. And he meets a friendly policeman that he hits it off with and works well with to resolve it.
I think it's called the Horse Owners Club or something like that. Something really creative.
I think it's that, or it might be the Jockey Club, which was the name of a super scurvy dive in Portland when I lived there, which is hilarious.
So here's the thing about this book, though, that I wanted to get into, before we get deep into high points, low points, because I think we'll both agree that this is a high point, is that this book is excruciatingly almost wholesome.
Oh, yeah.
It really surprised me because it's called The Danger, and it's written by a guy who calls himself, and I guess it's his real name, Dick Francis, and all of the little blurbs about it make it sound like he's a hard charging fucking adventurer with little time for blah blah blah. But this book is almost completely free of violence. There's no swearing in it at all. It's really
there's a little bit of swearing.
There is, but there's a lot more inferred swearing than actual swearing. And as we'll get into, because it's one of my high points, I think that there's several parts of this book that are actually kind of romantic in a way that you really don't expect coming from a male author who specializes in writing about horse kidnappings.
Yeah. And it is all but wholly sexless. And I will just hint that we will be hearing the sexiest part of this book a little later.
Ooh, I'm struggling to think what that might be. But I'm imagining it involves someone getting on or off a horse. Not like that, people. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I'll just say, no horses need apply.
So one of my favorite things also is, this only is in our Italy section, but before he learns the name of the the person responsible for the kidnapping.
Oh,
Whenever
yeah.
he's thinking of him or who he might be, he refers to him as him in all caps or he in all caps. And every time I say the word him in all caps, it would be like I picked up the phone. It was a message from him. All I could think of was that like really popular Hot Topic band that had like the pentagram heart logo.
Yeah, the heartogram.
Yeah, it's like he's getting messages from that weird poser goth band again.
Yeah,
or
to be
if
fair,
you want a real deep cut, there was also a band called Him that was a really good like math rock jazz combination that I believe featured Devin Ocampo from Farragut. But anyway, proceeding.
Anywho, if I might jump back to the Hot Topic section.
Yeah.
No one in history has ever heard that band, but they sure sold a lot of fucking t-shirts.
I agree with that, actually. I don't think I know anyone that listened to them, but I knew at least 3 people who had shirts with that logo on it. It's a good logo. I mean, I'll admit that.
You probably knew 2 people with the tattoo, and, to get there, you may have to count Bam Margera, but, that's fine, too.
I have a safe bet that if Bam Margera likes a band, I'm not going to. So I'll just leave them off of my playlists for the time being. But yeah, every time that showed up, I was like, oh, it's a message from him. And I couldn't help but like, I mean, I don't even know what they sound like. So I just imagine like some bad, like kind of like fake New Order playing over the phone. I think they were a lot heavier than that though.
I had it a little bit differently because that jumped out at me too. And for me, it had a very bad Christian rock vibe.
Oh, yeah. I could see that, too.
So, like, every time one of those sentences would come up for me, all I could hear was major chords and a really breathy vocal,
Oh, you're thinking of that kind of Christian rock.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, like, the Yellow and Black Attack, a.k.a. Striper.
No, I was thinking about, like... Oh God, I think it was Switchfoot who turned out to be Christian. They had a mediocre hit. But just that kind of thing where it's only like the 3rd or 4th time you hear it that you realize like, wait, what? Why is this guy singing about like giving my heart to him? What does he mean? I don't think this guy is gay. Oh no.
Or it's like that Neutral Milk Hotel song that still nobody's figured out because he refuses to talk about because he's the weird fucking Salinger of rock music. But the one that goes, Jesus Christ, I love you, and no one knows if there's an implied comma or not.
Right.
One of the great mysteries that's haunted indie rock for all of these years. But what I was going to say is Switchfoot is one of those bands that I believe I was recently on the F Plus for an episode about specifically Christian abstinence poetry.
Oh,
and so,
no!
One of the poems that came up was about how Christian rock is still the devil's music because it's rock music. And we got into a bit of a discussion about it. And Creed also did this. Switchfoot did it. I think this is a really common move, is to pull this little trick here. We're not a Christian rock band, man. We're all Christians. And we like to write lyrics that explore the, themes about Christian philosophy or anything. But, our music's for everyone. We're not trying to push a particular religion out there. And I'm like, that's just the fucking cop-out.
Motherfucker, your band is called Creed.
Yeah, I think the big problem there is that eventually Scott Stapp turned out to be one of the worst human beings on the planet and kind of, retroactively made his own bullshit true.
Oops. I feel a little bit bad about my reflexive knee-jerk, scorn. So I will admit in this moment that I have been to more than one rock and roll show in your bingo hall / VFW scale venue where the band played for a while, and then there was a moment where everybody clasped their hands and bowed their heads. So I put in some time in the trenches. That's all I'll say.
There was a venue in St. Petersburg, Florida for a long time called The Refuge that was a punk rock church. and they'd book secular acts, but they'd always book one of their kind of stable of Christian acts to like be right in the middle of the bill.
Stable?
And then have like a cool like youth pastor type guy come out and introduce all the bands.
Yeah.
But like they booked like serious hardcore bands, and like it was a disaster. I specifically remember seeing patented music digression here. I specifically remember seeing a band there who many people will remember called Dead Guy, whose most famous T-shirt design is just a straight up pentagram with a goat head in the middle of it that says "Death to False Metal" on the back. And they booked Dead Guy with a Christian band, and you can imagine that went over really well with the audience. Many cans of non-alcoholic beverages were thrown, and I ended up feeling kind of bad for these dudes who were just trying to express their faith, but somebody put them on a bill that was, man, it's a mean trick you would play on your friend or something.
Yeah.
Or on someone you don't like.
There's a good time and a place and a bad time and a place.
Yeah, don't book a band called Dead Guy who specializes in ironic Satanism at a church.
Especially because, if I remember right, the Christian band ate all of Dead Guy's green M&Ms.
That's probably true too. Yeah, but it was a weird experience. But I think a lot of people who are our age and even a little younger. I mean, I have a lot of friends who got into punk rock and hardcore through Christian music because for a long time there was a thriving Christian punk and hardcore scene, and then you kind of move on to more secular music from there. So I'm not going to talk too much shit. I mean, and a lot of those bands were pretty good. I mean, Sensefield to an extent was a Christian band, and I love them. So whatever. Anyway, let's get back to the horse.
We
napping.
also did a 2-hour bonus episode mostly about Krishna hardcore. So, YOLO.
Yeah, it's true. I can only talk so much shit about guys who want to sing about Jesus when I'm literally still own like an LP that has Hare Krishna chants in between every song. All right, want to do some high points, low points?
I would love to do some high points, low points. Let me slip into my racing silks.
The silk thing threw me off. It seems like that would get dirty really fast on a racehorse. But why does everything I say have a double entendre today?
I don't know, man.
Getting dirty on a racehorse. Anyway, here's high points, low points.
High points are high, and low points are low. High points, low points, get ready to go.
So, high points, do you want to go first?
I can go first. So this is kind of a slightly odd one, but I really enjoyed all the scenes of Andrew like puttering around the office when he gets back to England from Italy. It was like, oh, this is what it's like to wander around and chat with your coworkers because you don't feel like writing up the report of the job you just did. This is what it's like to not get yelled at in a meeting. And I was like, oh, this is terrific stuff. And I have no idea why my brain had that response, but that is the response my brain had.
It's also kind of implicitly stated that it's a co-op.
Yeah, they're all
some
partners.
extent, right? They're all partners. Yeah, there's no bosses, which I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. So that's pretty rad. But you'll still get chewed out if you do something wrong. It's just by, a group of people instead of one particular guy.
Yeah, it seems that perhaps some bosses or some partners are more boss-like than others.
Yeah, but I did think it was neat that they even explicitly described it as a flat hierarchy.
Yeah, that was odd and unexpected, but cool.
I like that too. I also especially liked that one of the fellows, even though he's described very ungenerously, does origami while he's thinking, and I was like, oh, cool. And he has a lucrative side business submitting origami patterns to a magazine. To which I would like to subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. You are fucking ready. So what was your high point?
I actually think my first high point, and this is going to be surprisingly sincere considering the topic of this book, but I think that the way that the romance with Alessia is how I was pronouncing it in my mind. I don't speak Italian, and I've never heard that name. But I was really surprised with how well and sensitively it was handled. I thought for sure he was going to rescue her and they were going to immediately go have dinner and get it on. But she's traumatized. She's been kidnapped for like 6 weeks. And, he kind of helps her out, but he's very much at a distance and kind of in a support role. Even though, he's starting to have feelings for her. She leaves his life for a while. They're both thinking about each other for a long time. They meet up later. They finally have an opportunity to have some time alone. And she pretty much straight up tells him, like, I'm not ready to have sex. And he's like, hey, that's cool. And I was like, holy shit, this was written in the 80s? How did this happen? Because this is not what you get out of these kind of books most of the time.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big high point for me, was just the fact that, like, our swashbuckling kidnap victim saving hero, like, actually, values consent and treats women like human beings.
Yeah. Except that leads us to my first low point.
Oh, no.
Which is,
did I miss something?
Well, no, but this book, like, goes back and forth, and most of the time it hews to a pretty explicitly getting kidnapped is not a kidnapped victim's fault line. However,
okay, yeah.
There is more than a tiny bit of victim blaming here. I'll just read a very short passage. I was here, inside of the house, not far from the gate. I slowed down to turn in. The classic spot for kidnaps. Right outside the victim's house. She had a red sports car besides, and had been driving it that day with the top down, as she always did in fine weather. Some people, I'd thought when I'd heard it, made abduction too simple for words.
Yeah, and that's rough.
That one bites particularly hard because it is Andrew. It's our humble narrator who we spend all our time with. There's a couple other moments where, another character will try to victim blame in much the same way, and they are usually quickly corrected, which made this one all the more jarring.
Yeah, because that happens about like 5 pages before her dad says something really similar, and he's like, what? So she should drive, like a car, I don't know, a Buick that's made out of bulletproof steel or something? Like, what's the point of being young if you can't have fun? But it's like, dude, you were just saying that was bad.
Yeah, so that's a more narrowly defined low point than normal, but a low point nonetheless.
For me, I think a low point of this was just that I found the style that this book was written in terminally boring. Like, I don't know what it was in particular, but like the way the sentences are written and stuff were just very, like, everything is matter of fact and to the point, and there's not a lot of flair in the writing at all. And just like stuff like, the telephones are near the restaurant, Ricardo said. In the hall, just outside. I have telephoned from there often. Or
it's like one of those movie things where they feel like they have to establish why the superhero knows how to eat lunch or something. You gotta show the time he was trained to eat lunch by Thor's dad or whatever.
That's a good comparison. Her lips curved. She was pretty, I thought. Under all the strain, her face a mingling of small, delicate bones. And under the surface, taut below, finely shaped. I had always been attracted by taller, softer, curvier girls, and there was nothing about Alessia to trigger the usual easy urge to the chase. All the same, I liked her increasingly, and would have sought her out if she hadn't asked me first. I don't know, it's like, it's boring. Like, even when he's writing about, like, whoa, mama type stuff, it's like, this is, like, very boring. I don't know. I think it's a Britishism to an extent of this era, where there's a very particular kind of matter-of-factness to the style that I just didn't like. I couldn't get past it.
Yeah, I didn't find the style particularly boring, but my last low point is that I did find the plot extremely dull. And I kind of thought that it was going to be fun. And about halfway through, I was like, I wanted this to be a fun romp of a kidnapping story, not like that incredibly dull movie Proof of Life that I saw 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Which you may remember as a 700-hour-long movie about a kidnapping and a professional hired to resolve that kidnapping, and it made me frame the following question. Is kidnapping just super fucking boring?
I think, like, here's the thing. Obviously, I am not trying to say that if you are the victim of a kidnapper, it is boring. It sounds horrifying and awful. But I think that as far as crimes go, it's one that has a lot of bureaucracy around it, generally takes place over a long period of time, and involves multiple negotiations, at least according to this book. So I think to an extent, I think you're right. I mean, like, compared to something cool like a bank robbery where, like, dudes are, like, blowing up vaults and all this kind of stuff, it's like a lot of it involves telephone calls and, like, negotiating ransoms in this book.
Yeah.
So let's at least say kidnapping in this particular style of this book is a pretty boring crime.
I clearly meant, is kidnapping a boring topic for fiction like this, not, you know...
Yeah.
Is your experience with having been kidnapped boring?
Yeah, like, obviously.
So
I don't know why I felt the need to preface that, actually. Like, to tell the truth, it's like, look, if you're out there and you've been kidnapped, I know that you weren't bored.
If you are kidnapped right now, and your captors are inexplicably allowing you some entertainment,
and you picked this,
yeah,
wow.
I mean, I guess all I can say is, that sucks. I'm sorry. For multiple reasons.
Yeah,
I would have asked.
Wish we would have done a different book this week. Sorry about your situation. Hopefully, a dashing gentleman will save the day shortly.
Yeah. Also, maybe next time, don't ask for a podcast. I would probably ask for, like, I don't know. I hear good things about the new Cromwell book from Hilary Mantel. I forget its title. Kind of excited about that one. Maybe the new Tana French. That sounds great, you know?
Or as most of us who have, while we have not been kidnapped, we have been kind of sequestered into small spaces, basically against our will for going on, what now, 60 some odd days, I'd say. Animal Crossing? That might be a good one. I don't know.
Yeah, they're absolutely not going to buy you a Switch if you've been kidnapped. That's
true. They're sold out, like, everywhere. Yeah. You have to buy them, like, from shady Facebook ads now.
You know what? They'd show up with, like, an ancient brick 3DS with 3 versions ago Animal Crossing, and you know what? You'd be lucky to fucking have it.
You'd get Wild World for sure. No, yeah. Now, if you want to buy a Switch, you got to buy them from the same people who are hoarding toilet paper up here. So, I don't know. Hope you got a Switch out there, folks. And look me up. I'm on Animal Crossing. I'm posting my friend code everywhere.
Woo!
You would not believe the amount of peaches I have grown. You might even say there are millions of peaches.
Peaches for me.
Yeah. But they're not free, so don't fucking steal them, assholes.
Wow. How many bells is a peach worth? You know what? I don't fucking care.
I don't know, but, you know, those games always bring out an odd dichotomy because I love raccoons, but I fucking hate landlords.
Yeah.
And, it's weird. Anyway, moving on, I believe, to another round of low points here.
No, we're done. It's high point time.
We've only done one each.
Nope,
I did
we've done 2 each.
Yeah. Because I do have one more, which is, look, I'm not one to go on the defensive about this because I believe that this is quite frequently a defensible position. But this author clearly hates Americans.
That's a low point? That was my high point.
You know, to the point where just about every American in this is like a caricature of like a rude, boorish individual, frequently, depicted as quote unquote comically overweight. It's a little much. I had a kind of a hard time with that. It's also not super fond of Italians. So there's a little weird kind of nationalist stuff going on here that I'm not super happy with. It's low key. There's nothing that's going to make you jump out of your skin because it's offensive or anything, but it's just really, it's a little wearying, I guess.
There's something I'm looking for. His boss at some point says, very good. Oh, here it is. Right, the chairman said. Future advice, no Americans. Present advice, he looked around. Opinions, anyone? Which made me laugh, but yeah, I feel you. There's also one too many moments about how law-abiding and sensible and good English people are. That was the part that bugged me. Not his xenophobia, but his, like, kidnapping worked differently in a basically honest country like England. And I'm just like, oh, fuck off.
Where people care about their neighbors and everyone could sit on the porch with a glass of tea and wave at each other. And yeah, no, come on. And then he basically does that as a counterpoint to describe Italy as a place where no one cares about anyone else.
There's a runner about how this one English detective doesn't want to call his counterpart in Italy because it will be too expensive. This is not a one-off. This is a runner, and it is excruciating because it's commented upon as like a notable example of the generosity of spirit but thriftiness of money of the average Englishman.
It's really silly. And I mean, I guess the best way to put it is just that there are a lot of stereotypes based on quote-unquote national values that in real life I don't think are necessarily quite as universal as Mr. Francis might think. Yeah. So that was my second low point.
But then again, this was also, I guess what people in airports read before there was Stephen King, Lee Child, and Jordan Peterson. Sorry, I meant James Patterson. Waka waka.
Different kind of bad.
So at least it goes quickly, Could be worse.
It goes so quickly that it took me 69 sittings to get through.
Nice. I guess my last high point is I kind of liked the co-workers. You mentioned Origami Dude. What you did not mention is that he's functionally Mycroft Holmes.
He is, yeah.
So I kind of liked the idea of Origami Mycroft. There's also the Special Forces co-worker he has, who... I want to find how he's introduced, because it's lightly magical. His humor...
I want to talk about later on while you're looking for that.
Yeah, I have it.
I just want to mention that he does some pretty incredible things.
Oh yeah, so he's basically English Spider-Man. He can climb up a wall in the dark with no one noticing. And he's introduced with roughly this. His humor consisted mostly of sarcasm, and he could hardly get a sentence out without an oiling of fuck, shit, and piss. Except that the entire rest of the book, whenever this guy talks, and he talks a lot, it is with effing.
Yeah, literally the word E-F-F-I-N-G.
Including, I cuss more than most people. I can even cuss more than I normally do. I cannot tell you that I think it is a valid cuss to say, I'll see you at effing breakfast.
Yeah. See, and I didn't know whether that was supposed to be like an authorly bit of self-censoring. Like maybe he really wanted that PG-13 rating.
No, that is an incredibly important question. And I tried to shoehorn this into a game and couldn't, so I'm glad you're asking it now. Gun to your head, Jay. Is this guy saying effing, or is he saying fucking all the time?
I think he's saying fucking all the time, but our narrator doesn't want to. So when it's being put on the page, although actually the narrator, it's an omniscient narrator, right? This is not written from the first person. I don't believe. Let's see.
No, it's Andrew. It's I.
Oh, it's Andrew. Yeah, so I think Andrew is just not the type of guy who's big on the F word, so he's transcribing it as effing. That's the impression I got.
I think you're almost certainly right, but I cannot easily express to you how much I wish it were the case that this super hard-boiled, hard man of England is walking around literally saying, "Oi, mate, I'll see you at effing breakfast."
Yeah. Get down on the effing floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Hands behind your effing head, you bloody bastards. Also, at least 3 Americans say bloody in this book. That made me laugh.
Hello. What's this, an effing kidnapping then?
Like, we have some stupid idioms over here, but we do not say bloody.
Yeah, I mean, if we use the word bloody, it means there is the fluid that runs through the body and carries oxygen around where it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not one of our words. That word belongs to you over there on your side of the pond, and I love hearing British detectives say it, but it's really weird when it comes out of the mouth of what's supposed to be like an American gangster, like horse napping thug, be like, "Well, I'll be back for the bloody kid later," or something like that. It's like, what?
You almost
scary.
You almost expect something like, "Bloody hell," quipped the Winnipeg detective, my favorite American so far. And you're just like, no, we needed another layer of editing here.
Now here's the thing about my breakfast. I ordered these eggs medium rare. I ordered the steak medium rare, but this is obviously bloody well done. If you could send it back right now, I'd like you to fix it. Thanks.
So what you're saying is you want this bloody steak bloody.
That's why I switched. From eggs to steak.
Right.
I wanted to set that one up. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Jesus.
I'm just saying, it's like when I go to the bloody Waffle House, I want to get the food that I expected to order. You get?
Yeah. Like, this tea is terrible.
Okay.
The Wichita lawman spit his plug of tobacco out and said, "This is hardly a proper tea time."
He looked at his hash browns. These are hardly a proper hash browns. I doubt if these have been scattered, smothered, or covered.
Dear God.
All right, so we're back to high points again. High points. This is tough for me. It's not that I disliked this book. It's just that it bored me so much that nothing really jumped out at me. I guess one high point for me is the reliance on cassette tapes throughout this. Cassette tapes are treated as like the coolest thing. And a lot of it is obviously because it was written, but this is at a point where computers exist. Computers are mentioned several times, but pretty much every piece of vital communicado that goes across the wire one way or another is relayed via cassette tape in a mailbox. And I found that really interesting and pretty cool.
So much cassette tapes, you'd think it's a noise label.
Exactly. I was going to say, he was bringing cassettes back way before it was cool.
Before they were even out.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Most people at this point, they would have been recording their ransom notes on an 8-track or a reel-to-reel.
Jesus Christ. Home taping is killing music, but it's helping kidnappers.
Whoa, this ransom note is for the nice price, $5.99. That's a joke for you olds out there. All right.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield or whatever the fuck his name is, sitting in the big chair with his hair getting blown back, listening to a Maxell brand hostage tape.
Is it live or is it a kidnapping? You know what's funny is I can never think of the original version of that ad. I always think of the Bloom County version of it. It's just like ingrained in my mind.
I mean, it's what got there first for you probably, and was more important. Because who gives a shit about like what's getting advertised in Rolling Stone? I want to know what Milo and the gang are getting up to.
Yeah, exactly. Rolling Stone never had any sarcastic penguins.
Much to their discredit, in my opinion.
All right, that's it for High Points, Low Points. So let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back.
Woo!
Welcome back, folks. We're recording remotely, and Collision is apparently still trying to figure out how headphones work.
Guess who's back? Back again. No, I'm actually trying to figure out why my neck is killing me.
Riding them horses too fast, buddy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but like, ow.
Yeah, recording remotely, kicking back. I'm doing something I'm never doing. I like to call it VOP, Vaping on Podcast.
Oh, dear God.
Sick cloud, bro.
Nice. Yeah, I am not vaping. I am fully clothed. The listeners should know that. I will say that
that implies that I'm not, and I am wearing slippers. But other than that, I'm dressed appropriately.
Okay. I will say
I just want everyone to know.
Right. Yeah, I will say that this episode recording session started closer to the end of a shower for me than probably any other episode. So that's new.
Except that one time you wouldn't stop rolling in the mud before we were supposed to get started. I mean, that was weird.
Look, man, you get ready for the show your way. I get ready for the show my way.
Oh, but we're back, and this is the segment where we play some games. So let's start off with the winningest, placingest, and showingest segment in podcast history, Dramatic Readings.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
All right, Collision, would you like to start us off with your dramaticalness?
I would love to, and we've heard about this before. This is the sexiest part of the book because you know what, Jay? Consent is sexy.
It is.
The food arrived, and we ate roughly jockey-sized amounts. Then...
Wait, hold up. This part bugged me, because I knew what he meant was jockeys don't eat a lot. They have to be lightweight. But what I imagined was them eating food that was approximately the size of a jockey each. So
yeah. So you would have said something like, and we ate portions fit for a jockey.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to implying that they ate, a 98-pound to 100 and something pounds worth of steak.
Well,
anyway, sorry to interrupt.
What I assumed it meant is Alessia ate a certain amount and then ate extra weight to bring herself up to the amount of eating that Andrew did.
I see. That would make sense.
Yeah. The food arrived, and we ate roughly jockey-sized amounts. Then Alessia pushed her plate away, and looking at her wineglass said, "Decision time, I suppose." "Only for you," I said mildly. "Yes or no?" Still looking down, she said, "Would no be acceptable?" "Yes, it would," I said seriously. She took a deep breath. "I want to say yes, but I feel..." She broke off, then started again. "I don't seem to want... Since the kidnap... I've thought of kissing, of love, and I'm dead. I went out with Lorenzo once or twice, and he wanted to kiss me. His mouth felt like rubber to me." She looked at me anxiously, willing me to understand. "I did love someone passionately once, years ago, when I was 18. It didn't last beyond summer. We both simply grew up. But I know what it's like. what I should feel, what I should want, and I don't. Darling Alessia, I stood up and walked to the window, thinking that for this battle I wasn't strong enough, that there was a limit to controlled behavior, that what I myself longed for now was warmth. I do truly love you in many ways, I said, and found the words coming out an octave lower than in my normal voice. Andrew! She came to her feet and walked toward me, searching my face and no doubt seeing there the vulnerability she wasn't accustomed to. Well, I said, struggling for lightness, for a smile, for Andrew, the unfailing prop. There's always time. You ride races now. Go shopping. Drive your car? She nodded. It all took time, I said. I wrapped my arms around her lightly and kissed her forehead. When rubber begins feeling like lips, let me know.
That's sweet. It's really sweet, I thought. I don't know.
Although slightly oddly phrased. No, I read it because I have, amongst other things, a commitment to reading the sexiest part of the book.
Yeah, and that's the sexiest part of the book, especially when his voice drops an octave and he suddenly becomes Barry White.
Exactly, yeah. As happens to us all when we get horned up.
So I'm going to read the part of the book where people get drunk in the morning because it's very relatable right now.
Oh, shit, is this the brandy part?
Yep.
Oh, so good.
So this is towards the beginning. Alessia is still kidnapped, and he's over at her family's house speaking with her father and her sister, whose name is Ilaria. Alessia in close-up photographs wasn't particularly beautiful, thin, small-featured, dark eyes with short, head-hugging curls. It was her sister by her side in silver frames who looked more feminine, more friendly, and more pretty. Ilaria in life, however, was not particularly any of those things, at least not in the present horrific family circumstances. One couldn't tell what happiness might do, though. She and her Aunt Louisa slept while Sensi, that's the dad, and I returned to the Villa. Villa? Villa? I don't know. All was quiet there, all safe. Sensi walked straight into the library and poured a large amount of brandy into a tumbler, indicating that I should help myself to the same. I joined him, reflecting that 7 in the morning was as good a time as any to get drunk. Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Quarantine life, baby. I'm sorry, he said. I know it's not your fault. The carabinieri... I can't say. Carabinieri? Is that it?
Something close to that? I don't know either.
The police do what they want. I gathered he was referring to the anger he'd poured on me the last time we sat in those same 2 chairs, as opposed to the sugar he was pouring on me this time from my head to my feet, which was hot and sticky sweet. I made a vague don't think about it gesture and let the brandy sear a path to my stomach, a shaft of vivid feeling going down through my chest. It might not have been wise, but the oldest tranquilizer was still the most effective.
Hell yeah. There's just like this other runner where when women are upset around Andrew, he's like, you should eat some carbs. And that made me laugh pretty hard because I'm like, carbs are good.
He refers to them as nature's tranquilizer, and it's explicitly described why in medical terms that I forget and can't understand. But it makes perfect sense because carbs do always make me feel more mellow. But
carbs.
Yep, brandy and carbs solves everything. I really like that description of brandy like being like a beam of light searing through your stomach because I'm like, yep, that's pretty accurate. And drinking at 7 in the morning is definitely something I can relate to now that time has no meaning. So there we go. I understand you have a what would they do?
Indeed.
Sometimes the tensions are hard to define, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
So, lay it on me, brother.
All right. So, in this game, I put you in the shoes of someone else and ask you the most potent question of all. What would they do? So for this purpose, you are a writer other than Dick Francis. And you've decided that your book will be called The Danger.
Ooh, can I be Dean Koontz?
Yes, you are Dean Koontz, and your book is called The Danger.
All right.
What is, Dean, The Danger?
The Danger is a large wolf human hybrid that wears ripped overalls and really fucking hates dogs.
No!
How about you?
I believe I would be Stephen King.
Oh no.
And the danger would be a glowing flying refrigerator that has something to do with my decades-long coke habit.
I'd be H.P. Lovecraft, and the danger would be... never mind.
Nope!
What is the danger in this book, though, by the way? Because it is explicitly mentioned.
I don't fucking know!
It's the horse, the racehorse. So I highlighted it because I thought this would give it an extra point for in your book. But yes, Brunelleschi, the horse, is the danger. And that is justified as such.
Oh, that's because a jockey says that about what's the challenge to you for winning this race, and he says Brunelleschi is the danger.
Exactly. Is there one to beat you? The trainer's eye wandered and lit on Alessia by my side. He knew her. He smiled. He said gallantly, Brunelleschi is the danger. So the danger turns out not to be the type of danger you expect in this type of novel, for sure. But he's a pretty mean horse, so...
That's true. I think we get a couple of scenes of him being an ill-tempered sort. I, for one, was deeply upset that we, at no time, got a description of how many hands high he was. Major flaw, in my opinion.
I think hands as a unit of measurement for horses may or may not be a specifically American thing. Because as everybody knows, I watch a lot of Midsummer Murders. There's a lot of horse-related crime in those TV episodes as well. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone refer to a horse as being X number of hands in that show either. I think that may be like an Old West kind of thing.
Well, several things. One, that sucks. Two, more horse crime, less horse-related crime. Three, yeah. I still can't quite believe that you hated this book so much because it's basically a cozy.
No, there's no mystery, first of all. I mean, I guess it maybe is supposed to be a mystery because he's got this drawing of a guy who I pictured as looking exactly like Dr. Evil that he carries around with him, showing to people to see if they recognize, and no one recognizes him. And then at the end, it turns out he's a character who didn't exist in the book prior to 3 pages before being recognized, which in my book disqualifies this as a mystery. But there's also a certain lack of the kind of pastoral charm that I associate with a cozy.
Well, they probably could have spent more time in Italy and less time in Washington, D.C., sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of jet setting in this, and that's not, very few pies are baked. If we spent a lot of time, pardon me, with Poppy, the horse trader, in her English village, I might be able to apply the cozy tag. But as far as I'm concerned, this is kind of a straight-up crime thriller that involves horses.
Okay, all right.
And take it from me, genre meister, Jay Friedman.
Right. All right, well, genre boundaries, policed.
The genre police, they do in fact live inside of my head. They come to me in my bed. They're coming to arrest me. Oh no. And on that note, I think it's time we ask another very important question about this book, which is, what song would this book be if this were a song?
The subject has some words, but not a melody and no rhythm at all. It's playing out with me, so we read all along. And it's probably wrong, it got us think about what if this were a song. What would it sound like?
All right, this is a new segment that you're probably going to hear in every single episode because it's right in both of our wheelhouses, and damn, that theme song fucking rocks. Just don't listen to Trusty Chords by Hot Water Music within the next half an hour or so, and you might not realize that I ripped off 90% of it from that. All right, cool. So, Collision, if this book, The Danger by Dick Francis, were a song, a popular song, or not a popular song, I don't know, whatever, what would it be?
I think a pretty popular song. So, like, I liked it better than you did, but I still found it very faceless and forgettable. And that means just one thing to me, and that's a song called Since You've Been Gone by a band called Rainbow, who were...
Well, I thought you were going for Kelly Clarkson.
No. It's the good song called Since You've Been Gone. Shots fucking fired. That's right, Kelly Clarkson.
I'm sure her legion of fans will be after you now.
Yeah. Since You've Been Gone is what happens when a band that, like, 5 minutes before was writing songs like The Man on the Silver Mountain that are 18 minutes long and mostly feature 4-minute guitar solos played to an all-male festival audience. It's what happens when that band decides they need a radio hit. And it basically sounds like a Led Zeppelin song you don't like very much being played by one car driving by your house while a Cars song being played by another car drives by your house at the same time. And it's real bad, but kind of good.
Man, we are really on the same wavelength here because, for me, and this is going to sound more insulting at first until I explain it, but to me, this is Beth by Kiss, where you've got a group that's, they're known for being pretty hard-rocking, sort of like your example there, but, they take their turn at the slow ballad every once in a while, and I think it's kind of surprisingly emotionally effective at times, but ultimately far too long and far too repetitive. And so, to me, I'd say those are the three characteristics that make this equivalent to Peter Criss's turn writing and singing a radio hit for the horrible band Kiss.
Nice. I also want to give a quick supplemental shout out. I'm going to put a link to this in the show notes. Those are always up at the website if the references to show notes don't make sense to you. To the video for this Rainbow song, because it's actively funny. You can see a former hard rock band trying to pass as kind of a new wavy power pop type band.
Oh, I love those kind of things.
Stylishly, like clothes-wise, but like it's like they're caught in mid-transformation. Also, it's important to know that this is 100% the guitar player's band, to the point where through the bulk of their existence, they weren't called Rainbow. They were called Richie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Okay, I knew Rainbow sounded familiar. Richie Blackmore x Deep Purple, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
And he is shown in this video maybe twice. And both times the look on his face is actively hostile and contemptuous of the song he is playing. And it's so fucking good. Like, you can tell he does not want to be chasing the radio hit.
But some A&R guy behind the scenes is like, look, we can only keep putting out so much of this wankery if you don't give us at least one song per album that they'll play on fucking MTV.
Exactly. It's like, look, we've got to give the kids something to bump out of their Camaros.
And when you mentioned bands caught between the stylistic transformation, I was thinking a lot of like the mid-90s, I would say, when a lot of the hair metal bands realized they had to adapt or go the way of the dinosaur, so they started trying to do rap rock. So you had records like Dog Eat Dog by Warrant, or Motley Crue, Generation Swine. And so in videos, you'd have like Vince Neil, except he's wearing like no shirt and overalls with one side unbuttoned and stuff. It's great. Everybody go look up all of that. Or like any video from Extreme's wonderfully titled album Porno Graffiti. And You're going to see some real funny outfits happening.
In retrospect, it would have been better for them record sale-wise had the album been called Extreme and the band been called Porno Graffiti.
That's a good point. Actually, now that I think about it, I think their visual transformation happened more around the album after that, which was called, what was it, Three Sides to the Truth or something like that? Or I just remember that the thing was that there's actually three sides to every story. That's it. Yours, mine, and the truth. Yeah.
Whoa. That's yeah. You can always tell when the first member of the band gets divorced and spends a lot of time in counseling. The songwriting gets a lot deeper. You know?
The thing about Extreme that rules, though, is none of it matters except for Nuno Bettencourt. And you can fast forward through all those songs and just listen to the guitar solos and be like, yep, great band. And I still do that sometimes. So I've been known to cue up the Get the Funk Out video to precisely 2 minutes and 51 seconds because that's when the guitar solo starts.
Good God. I of course have never done anything embarrassing like that and did not, in fact, some 2 minutes ago, recommend a close viewing of the video for Rainbow's semi-hit Since You've Been Gone.
Well, former guest and friend of the show, Maura Thompson, knows exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about Nuno Bettencourt being so rad. She even named her cat after him. So.
That's true. Nothing but love, but you know, like I grew up in the era of hair metal, and like I've had my fill of, okay, but the band is good if you only listen to the guitar solos. Like, yeah, okay. I first heard that argument about Winger. Fuck Winger. Fuck Reb Beach.
I was just going to say, Reb Beach was a fucking shredder, though. But, I mean, every generation has this, right? Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, this rap song's real good as long as you don't listen too closely to the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, that was a couple of games and some of the purest, most distilled music digressions I think we've had in a long time.
I think that's true. So I don't think there's anything else we can really do right now, but call it break time, and I'm going to go listen to that extreme guitar solo. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're winding down. We've been rode hard and put away wet, which I still really don't know what it means, but it always grosses me out. I know it has something to do with horses, though.
I think it means you're supposed to towel down your horse.
Towel down those horses, kids, because it's time for the section where we recommend things we like, and it's called Recommendations.
Not only venom and spite, sometimes with sweetness and light, and we always end the episode by telling you about a thing we like. Recommendations.
Collision, would you like to start us off this time? I feel like I always start this off.
You know, Jay, I like big butts and I cannot... Sorry. Have I done that every episode, or has
I don't think you ever have, but you need to start.
So welcome to your future, because I'll be doing that every episode from now until the end of time.
I recently discovered the wonders of Cameo.com. I don't know if you're familiar.
I'm familiar.
Not Cameo, the wonderful funk band, but Cameo, the website where you can pay celebrities to record a little video for you. And I'm going to check and see if Sir Mix-a-Lot's on there for reasons.
Okay, so in addition to big butts that I like, I'm going to go way off script, and I'm going to recommend a movie by Kelly Reichardt. That movie is called Night Moves, and it has absolutely nothing to do with kidnapping or hostages or feeling emotionally completely overwhelmed by circumstance. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It has to do with all of those things. It is a movie about eco-terrorists, and it is very detailed to the point where about halfway through I started to think, am I going to be on a watch list because I watched this?
Yikes.
But it is as emotionally incisive and devastating as one would expect if you like Kelly Reichardt movies. Has a little bit more star power than your average Kelly Reichardt movie, because it has Jesse, not Chris Collision's favorite Eisenberg, in it, as well as Peter, also not Chris Collision's favorite Sarsgaard, and a few other very, very recognizable folks. Probably her highest profile cast ever.
Wait, so you don't like Jesse Eisenberg, but you like the Now You See Me movies?
Yeah, well, I like it because everybody's constantly dunking on Jesse Eisenberg.
Actually, that's a good point. I recently bought the 2-pack of both of those movies.
Yes!
And I've gotten dire over here, folks.
I mean, mostly I like Now You See Me because it has the more talented Franco brother utilized at his absolute best.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway,
as a sleazebag.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, not Now You See Me, although you can do worse than Now You See Me and Now You See Me Too. Night Moves. And yes, the name is actually motivated in the picture. Pretty
Bob
good stuff.
Seger is involved then?
I mean, you'll have to watch it.
I guess I will. I'll have to watch it to find out. So I'm also going to recommend an audiovisual program, but I'm going to recommend something on quite the opposite side of the scale, which has virtually, I would say, no emotional content except for pure joy and hilarity. I am rewatching something that I watched for the first time about 6 months ago, and people who listen to the show will know I'm not the hugest fan of animation. I don't generally watch a lot of children's programming, even when it has stuff for grown-ups, quote-unquote, in it. But I'm rewatching the series Gravity Falls, and holy shit, it is the best cartoon ever made, and everyone should watch it. The writing in it is just top-notch. There's hilarious jokes. One of the characters is voiced by Kristen Shaw, and she just is using her normal voice to play a 12-year-old girl, which is perfect. She only wears sweaters with her name on them. She has a pet pig named Waddles, and there are a lot of jokes in it that would... I hate to be... It's there's stuff for the parents, too, but I'd say this show is 95% for the parents. And it's really, really funny, and I don't watch enough funny stuff, it's made me realize. But I would really recommend watching Gravity Falls. And it's a 2-series arc that was planned out from the beginning that starts out as very lighthearted kids going on summer camp for adventure. And then by the end, there's straight up weird occult symbology and the world is coming to an end. And it's... I don't know how to describe it without spoiling it, but check that out. It's good. You can get both seasons at once on most of your streaming services that allow you to purchase things. And I would suggest doing it because you are going to want to watch it a second time because they start dropping clues in episode 2. So it's good. I've heard it referred to as a Twin Peaksy cartoon that also is very funny, and I think that's accurate.
Twin Peaks but got jokes is a idea that I find hard to get my head around.
Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
But not unintriguing.
There's a character in it whose name is Tyler Cute Biker, for instance.
Jesus.
And he only basically shows up when people are punching or breaking things to yell, "Get him! Get him! Get him!" It's pretty amazing.
I'm almost certain it is substantially better than the moment that I had when I was earnestly telling people, no, I'm pretty sure Super Troopers 2 is every bit as good as Super Troopers. And meaning that to mean it's also good.
No, this is by far, like I said, I don't watch a lot of cartoons. This is the only animated thing I think that I've ever spent money to watch other than Venture Brothers. So I don't know. It's good. It's good stuff.
I mean,
It is relentlessly fucking wholesome, and I think we all need a lot of that in our life right now. Like, everyone learns a valuable lesson, but it's still friggin' hilarious along the way.
I mean, we all need to learn lessons. We all need some wholesomeness, and we all need some positivity. So yeah, I can get on board with all of fucking that.
Oh, it's one more thing. Just speaking of the sheer amount of wholesomeness and positivity of where this show came from, one of the characters in the show, a very minor character, was originally voiced by Louis C.K., and after the truth was brought to light about Louis C.K., the creator of the show went back, erased all of his dialogue, and re-recorded it himself so that future releases of it would not have his voice on it anymore. And that alone, I feel like, is enough to make me want to support this endeavor.
Nice.
He George Lucas'd himself to get a sexual offender out of his program. So, hey, that's awesome. Okay, so moving along. Sometimes people write into us. Sometimes we read them. The things that you wrote is what I mean. And they are letters.
A, letter B, letter C, letter D, letter E, letter F, letter G, letter. Got a lot of letters.
Collision, do we have any?
That was a long lead-in. I love it.
Yeah, I kept forgetting what tense I was in.
This is from Ike, fake last name, and it goes like this. I just wanted to take a moment to sincerely thank you both. I work as a postman, or mailman, as you Yanks would have it, in the UK, and I do most of my
mail
podcast
carrier,
listening.
I believe is now the accepted nomenclature, but yes.
Okay. I do most of my podcast listening in the 3-4 hours I have to myself every day walking my delivery route.
Oh, cool.
Most of my friends have been furloughed. My partner is working from home, but my colleagues and I are still working, almost as normal. The streets of my city are eerily quiet, but having a new episode to listen to really helps to remind me that the world isn't quite over just yet, and just generally helps me get through the day. So thank you, both of you. On an unrelated note, the other day, I was recommended to read 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos.
No!
Apparently, quote, this is the perfect time to read a self-help book. I lied and said I'd think about it. Then went back into your archive to listen to the episode again, so now I have a question for you. Has anyone ever earnestly recommended that you read a book that you had already covered on the show? If so, which one? How did you respond? Thank you again for the hours of entertainment with which you have provided me and for helping me cling to the last shreds of normalcy in my life. And a shout out to my friend Greg, fake last name, who introduced me to the show a year or so ago. Thanks, Greg. Stay safe, stay positive, and ride the crab. Isaac the British Postie.
First off, folks, everybody support the Postal Service, especially if you're in the United States, where our idiot president is currently trying to make it obsolete. But, here's the thing about the Postal Service. The post guy, he knows my name. Every time he brings me mail, that's a package that he has to ring the doorbell. We have a little conversation. He's really nice. I like him. He's a cool guy. FedEx just tosses shit over my fence. So, there's a pretty big difference there.
My postal worker is always very careful to say, here you go, bud. Here's your ball cream. And I'm like, wish you wouldn't shout it out like that, my man, but really appreciate it all the same.
It's great these magazines come wrapped in brown paper now. No, but to answer that question, I have a story that's going to make some people love me and some people hate me. But a couple jobs ago, it was decided that we should start a book club at the job, at work. And it would be mostly conducted via Slack, where the books would be decided, and then there would be a meeting held after work hours to discuss our opinions of the book. And I was like, ooh, I love to read. So I signed up for the Slack channel, and a poll was posted, and these were the choices. I swear, I shit you not. What of these 3 books was going to be the discussion. The Maze Runner, the Alchemist, or Ready Player One. At which point my coworkers instantly saw J.W. Friedman has left the channel.
I know that everyone has a wide variety of choices when it comes to posting a Nope GIF. Now, I would just like to take this opportunity to recommend one of two Nope GIFs. Either the one where SpongeBob lays down in a trench he's dug for himself and covers himself up with sand that spells out the word nope. Or the longer one with a nice girl looking at her MacBook and it just says, nope, shuts it. Nope, walks out the door. Nope, walks down the street. Nope, walks to a spaceship. Nope, spaceship launches. Nope, spaceship nears the sun. Nope, spaceship lands in the sun.
Yeah, that was pretty much my feelings.
And that's J.W. Friedman noping out of that fucking channel.
Well, it should also be recommended that this was a place where, in addition to that, they just decided, our engineers need more culture that isn't STEM, so we should have, a bookshelf. People could donate books to the bookshelf. And they were all programming books, except when I finished China Mieville's October, I put it on the shelf, and I got a stern talking to from my manager about it. So fuck that company, and I'm glad I don't work there anymore. Okay, that's it.
Wow. I'll keep it lighter, and without naming names, I have more than two friends who like the works of Stephen King, and I have more than two friends who like the works of Lee Child, and let's just say I try to tread lightly around those topics. I also like Stephen King, it should be said. But
I like Stephen King's books. I'm liking Stephen King less and less these past few months, but we'll see how he handles that.
Yeah, I was using Stephen King as a metonym for his oeuvre, as I like to say. Fuck, man, I thought Firestarter was just a cracking good read. So, but yeah, it is the kind of thing where you got to kind of be a little circumspect when you are part of a podcast about bad books and you have friends who like Lee Child.
I have friends who do not know this podcast exists because I know how much it would upset them if they just saw the titles of the episodes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sad, but it's true. Like, you can be friends with people who like different things than you, and I think that's important. But it's also important to recognize when people have based a lot of their identity on those things that maybe you think are stupid, and try not to expose them to, say, an hour and a half of yourself ranting about how this book is inane garbage.
Or, to put it a slightly different way, there's a very good reason we've talked about Star Wars a lot, and we will do a Star Trek book over my dead fucking body.
Yeah.
I will phaser you if you suggest that there's something bad about Star Trek.
I've never read any of the novels, but I like the show, so it's cool. Star Wars can fuck right off, though.
Yeah. The only podcast by two men of a certain age who would genuinely rather read another letter about erotic Transformers fanfic than talk about Star Wars right now.
Bring on the Dune remake, motherfuckers, because I'd rather watch that than a Star Wars any day. And that shit looks dismal. Anyway, sorry.
Is that the Villeneuve?
Yeah, and all the costumes just look so boring, and I'm like, it's fucking Dune. Like, come on.
But I think what you're forgetting is that Dune opens with a solid 100 pages of palace intrigue that is almost impossible to get through.
All I care about is Shai Hulud. It's a chord song. All day I think about giant sandworms.
All day
Adig
I dream about Shai Hulud. All day I dream about Shai Hulud.
We hope you've enjoyed this long discussion that was ostensibly about a book. Thank you for continuing to support us as we work through our isolation blues via remote recordings. Hopefully one day soon we'll be able to do this in the same room again, but until then, we're going to keep shit coming. We know we owe you a bonus episode. We got one of those planned out, and it'll be around shortly. Can't really promise anything as far as the timeline, because we're getting a little, what's the word here?
All work and no play makes Jay and Collision go something something.
I was just going to say we're getting a little ambitious with this particular bonus episode, but yeah, right. Also that too. Like I said, I fell asleep a lot while I was reading this book. I'm not in the best place mentally right now, so this show is helping me out a lot. So I hope that you're enjoying it as well.
And let me be clear, Jay is getting ambitious with how he wants to do this bonus episode. I have literally said more than one time, let's just phone it in. As always,
never phone it in, brother.
As always, the vector of quality is coming straight out of J.W. Friedman's mouth, not mine.
So yeah, if it turns out to be a glorious disaster, it's all my fault.
And if it turns out to be, it's probably fine, then you'll know I had a firm hand on the rudder.
Or on the reins, as it were.
Oh, god damn it. How did I miss that? Well, I guess we've gotten past the post and are nearing the finish line. You know, we've been talking a lot about bonus episodes. You might not know what that is. This might be your first episode. I'm so fucking sorry if this is your first episode. I swear.
I mean, it's got all the high points. Krishna core digressions.
Digressions about extreme, me thinking about mentioning Dawkins and then not doing it and then doing it.
Name dropping former guests. It's all here.
Yeah. But if it is your first episode, we have a Patreon where we put out a bonus episode every month. And perhaps that will provide a balm in these troubling times. I don't know if anyone has mentioned to you that these times are troubling.
These times, they are rough.
They are rough.
And they are changing. But
and there's free shit on the Patreon channel, too. So go over there and just dick around.
Yeah, we've been putting up a lot more free shit than normal. I need to get on that, actually, myself. I have a couple ideas for some more free content. We don't make you pay money for our little weird shit that we put up there. If you do want to hear a bonus episode every month, though, it's going to cost you $5.
Yep.
Please don't do so in order to bankrupt yourself, because know that whenever you're ready and you pay that $5, you'll have access to the entire back catalog of bonus content. You can download it all at once, like the glutton you are.
Yeah. And even if if you can't, like, there's over 15 mainline episodes that you could go back and listen to right now.
That's true.
You know?
So well over 50.
Well over 15. Like, I am not good at counting, friends, but I'm pretty sure there's probably more than 20 even. Like, I'm just going to say it. I'll just be that guy. And there's an extremely non-zero chance that in the next 7 days I will upload a fun bonus that is just 45 minutes of me weeping into the recorder. You never know.
That's possible. I might get really drunk and do some struggle rap and then, tattooed variations of the number 69 all over my face. You never know what's going to happen on this show. But know that patreon.com/IDEOTVpod, you can find us there.
Yeah. And all the other episodes you can presumably find however you found this episode. If you'd like to write us about how you found the episode, about your life as a British postal worker, about your life as possibly something other than a British postal worker, you can do so by emailing us at idon'tevenownaTelevision@gmail.com. I'm not checking the Twitter anymore, but Jay sometimes does, I think. There's also a Facebook group that has proved a true soul balm in these times. You can find that at the I Don't Even Own a Television Fun Time Party Pit. Just search for it. You'll find it.
There's now an almost exclusively focused on Animal Crossing spin-off group created by a listener called I Don't Even Own a Console that is mostly just people putting up their friend codes, visiting each other's islands, trading things back and forth, and doing those things you do when you play Animal Crossing because you can't leave the house. So, it's a good community full of good folks.
Yeah, and even if you aren't playing Animal Crossing, there's animal pictures to be had, and just like-minded folks. I think it's pretty clear what kind of person listens to this show. They're not a problematic person to have around, especially in trying times. So it's been a real nice place for that. Thank you to all of you who make that a true thing. Except for you. You know who you are. You're the one who doesn't make it true.
As we've mentioned before, I have a firm hand on the ban the asshole button. So, yeah. we try to make sure that it's a place for everybody.
And I have a firm hand on the hey guys, let's all be nice button, which is a weird kind of role reversal for us. We should talk about that in our podcast host therapy session. Yeah, we're in a therapy group. Not everybody knows this, with the McElroys, with the Flophouse people, with the people from the Best Show. It's basically all the shows that we listen to. We're in a therapy group with them. It's a little weird because
that's not actually true, and I think you've been listening to too many podcasts. You're getting a little parasocial there, my friend. Although we admire these folks, we don't actually have group therapy with them.
Can you imagine a worse group therapy session than with like a bunch of LA comedians with a podcast?
Brother, I've been to conventions.
Hey-o!
Oh. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
And until that time, whip the crab, flog the crab, ride the crab, and I hope you come in first.
Yep. And also, don't forget to towel down the crab. See you later.